If you need my help, I can hold it.
Oh, no, it's okay. Thank you. I'm just going to dump this on me right here,
Okay.
like that. Thank you. Okay. What I want to do is show you my ecological metaphor that I'm using as my conceptual framework.
Mm-hmm.
I want to explain some of the terms and concepts that are important for understanding this ecological metaphor. And then I want to share with you some of my findings.
Okay.
All right. First, I'm studying, to introduce my research, I'm studying pedagogical technologists. And these are people who work in schools, and they're not teachers in a traditional sense, and they're not technicians either. Their primary responsibility in the school is supporting the pedagogical aspect of teaching through IT, and not the technical aspect of teaching through IT, because that's what technicians do. All right. And these guys, again, are not teachers in a traditional sense. They don't have a timetable. That is, they're not constrained to a year group or a class, for example. And they're a relatively new species. They did not exist 20 years ago in schools. And now they do exist in some schools. Most schools don't have them. And I'm studying, my research question is, how does a pedagogical technologist impact a school's ways of working with and through technology? And let me explain the ecological metaphor first before I get into my research objectives, okay? So I showed this during our seminar thing here. Okay. So based on the literature that I have reviewed, I developed a two-tier ecology. I have a school ecology and a global ecology. And I've populated this ecology with species. And I thought of or developed these species after an extensive literature review on school change, and in particular technological change in schools. What are the important things to keep in mind? And so I developed these species, and you can divide them by biotic and abiotic, breathing and non-breathing, and internal and external, because one of the species, the pedagogical technologist, even within the pedagogical technologist, has different species or internal indicators.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
What do you mean by species?
It's a way to group similar items. So, if
species are groupings.
Yeah.
Groupings of whom or what?
Yes, of whom or what. Yes.
So, based on what principle you group them?
I did a literature review, and I was looking for factors that affect technological change in schools. And after doing this literature review, these factors include such things as policies, leadership, shared vision, teaching through IT, relationships, professional developments, infrastructure, teachers, principal, parents, administrative support staff, students, community, professional organizations, business, state, educational institutions. So these are the factors, and I group them together and call them species.
Wait, so people who are pedagogical technologists are species?
Yes, they're one species.
Factors are species as well?
Yes.
Okay. keep on going.
I'm not sure if the word factors is the right word to use.
It is.
But
in this context, it is. So, whatever constitutes a system, a school system, or around a school system, which you call global, whatever populates it, you call it a species. Whatever it is, and then they're grouped based on, I don't know, anything. Okay, like people are species, technologies are different species, and then so whatever. It's the way I'm just confirming because I need to understand that that's really new for me. What the terminology is. Like I understood that what you call ecology is really the environment.
Yes.
The system and the environment. So ecology is basically the space in whatever in species is what constitutes it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. Good. So for degrees of environment, of internal environments and then external environments. And then these species are what populate this environment.
See, let's say we in this room, like you and me are one species. Table is different species.
Yeah.
Like fridge is third species, and the guy is third species.
Yes.
I have difficulties accepting that, but you keep on going.
Okay.
I mean, there is. It's like from my point of view, this would be contradictory.
Okay.
Like terminological wise, it wouldn't be. It sounds funny, but keep on going.
Yeah.
I know it's not your terminology. I've heard it before.
Yes. Well, if I could just add something, we would define the table as a species, and that guy over there is a species, and that poster over there is a species, if it were relevant towards our understanding of what's going on, right? So there has to be purpose and meaning in naming these species. As opposed to naming the table, why don't we just name the furniture as a species then? Why is it we just name the table as opposed to all the furniture, or that person as opposed to all the people, right? So there actually has to be some purpose and meaning in saying that is the species, that's the species, but this isn't the species, this is the species, this is the species, right?
There must be some, like from the ecological point of view, species are biotic. There is no abiotic.
Yes.
First of all, that's what I'm having difficulties with this analogy.
Yeah.
Like we have, for example, if we put a direct analogy and call people, technologists, a species, right, and then students another species, and teachers different species, defining the relationship, that would be a little bit hard, because if we are sticking with the ecosystem direct analogy, we would need to proceed with it all the way. So it doesn't make, it's not correct to separate them. For then you become a predator, as for example, and then we need to define the relationship based on the predator to prey or symbiotic or whatever relationship, which doesn't really fly. I would suggest, like I would think, if you go with the species analogy, it's like terminologically it sounds a little wrong. If you call like everything which includes, and like there is a system and everything here is a species, and then you define it, well, it's species because they look alike or because they group together. It's like you're looking at the ecosystem of the pond, right? And the trees are different species and frogs are different species, and then you call benches a different species, and you advise are going through the pond as a different species. That would be. We need to think about it, how to, because that's, again, I've heard this metaphor before, and I know where it comes from, but I have difficulties accepting it. As a biologist, it sounds ridiculous. But keep on going. Like, it's just terminological. I get the idea. It's like terminological reservations.
Yeah. These could be, if I didn't use the word species, they could be significant, categorical, These could be significant indicators or categorical groupings. Right?
Basically, what you're doing, you have a model, right? You say, this is a school, this is what's involved in the school, and this is how things are related, like flat across, right? In these interactions or relationships is what constitutes the whatever comes out of it.
Yeah.
So you don't really have to go with ecology, species, and call it, all that.
I don't.
It's still, you don't. Yeah, you don't, because that would be much simpler.
Well.
But it's still possible. If you think through that, there is possible way to build like more precise, direct analogy. So far, it's a little bit off.
Yes, well, I think.
But the idea is great.
All of these. You're right. I mean, I think you're a very strict constructionalist when it comes to applying hard science ecology to social science phenomenon, right? Social science phenomenon. I agree that the application of this ecological metaphor is a bit flimsy in the sense that it doesn't go all the way.
No, it doesn't have to, but when we build metaphors, I think, I'm not critiquing it. I'm saying that when we build a direct analogy, we have to not to use the terminology. Let's say in physics there is some word which we really like, nanotechnology. Nanotechnology becomes very popular.
Yeah.
So, and then you start applying a popular word, nanotechnology, or nanoscience, or nano this, or nano to anything.
Yes.
And in your mind you think you know what it is, and in your mind this is what is small, micro, right? And when the physicist hears it, he finds it ridiculous because it's not, it's not, scientifically it's not correct. Same with ecology. When they apply ecological terminology to science, we have to at least to leave it some room, not to be as precise as you, but to be a little bit more abstract.
Yeah.
Rather than because it's easy to fall through like some loop, like terminological loop. Because the meaning is correct, the idea is great, but the terminology might be adjusted.
I have to be a bit careful about that. Well, I wonder.
It's what I think, but I know that that's the general view of like some senior researchers in this field, and it's very hard to tell them that they're wrong.
Like Nancy. Do you think Nancy would raise this point about species?
She changed her mind. It's her idea. Was her idea in the beginning. This is where she started. Then she, through the group meetings, she changed her mind to defining technologies as species, and rather than people as species. I think it was a big breakthrough for me as an educator to hear that people change their, especially established academics, kind of change their opinion about what ecology is. Although, of course, it needs, you're right, she can call
Curious. Technologies as species.
Rather than, it's easier to leave the social system as it is and then grab different gadgets, because gadgets, this is what really intervene with, it's what is in study, and then study them as different species. Then you can go with groupings and then build an analogy towards how they get adopted, how they affect anything. Good. That was a big breakthrough. I mean, because when first time I heard about teachers as species and students as species, I fell on the table basically, because it was
good.
It wasn't very accurate. Again, I couldn't. I'm coming from the school where you don't really tell people that they're wrong. You have to help them to come to the correct understanding.
Yes.
And that's what I believe, that you're dealing with people.
Yes.
See, you're dealing with people. Your target of your research are those pedagogical technologies. Let's say like Brent. He considers himself a pedagogical.
He's something very similar to that.
He considers himself. Personally, I don't see the difference. Okay, but so that's new for me. And since you study people, and if you consider them as different species within the system, it should be something like not comparing apples and oranges.
Yes.
It's species within alike.
Yes. Can I share something with you?
Yes.
Because I think this is actually a very important breakthrough from my thinking too. Let's not think of these labels as people, because in fact they are technologies. Now, if you actually think about them in terms of their roles, they are actually different ways of doing. Because a person, right, can be a teacher and a parent at the same time, right? But in fact, within this ecology, maybe they just belong to one kind of technology. The teacher technology involves classes, it involves classrooms, it involves timetables, and the parent technology doesn't involve classes and timetables. It maybe involves meetings. Maybe
probably involves the same thing only from the different perspectives. Parents have to deal with classes and timetables. They don't compose them. Teachers compose curriculum. Parents participate in it through their children. So, and principal again at the different level of leadership goes through the same, classes, timetables, whatever, and students and so on.
Yes. So that's a complex system.
That's instruction. It doesn't call pedagogy. It's called instruction. It's an instructional aspect.
Okay. Yes. Just according to my definition of technology for this study, these in fact could be considered technologies. So I'll keep that in mind.
Okay. Well, as well as you just tell me when we talk cross science and cross discipline, it's helpful to define what you mean by the word you're
technology,
saying.
yes.
Yeah. So thank you for explaining it to me.
Technology is a way of doing, a predisposition to do something in a certain way. So, for example, a teacher in the school does something. Just think about human beings, okay? Think about these human beings inside the school. Okay, we're actually inside a building. We're just a bunch of human beings inside the building. And so certain people, human beings inside that building, do things in a certain way. Like they walk to a classroom, and then these other human beings walk to a classroom, and they do something that these other human beings in the building don't do. So there's actually a predisposition to ways of doing, and in that way we can actually see that these roles are technologies.
Okay.
So for example, right now I am not using my professor technology because I am not in a lecture theater with other human beings who are watching me. I am not looking at a PowerPoint. I'm not going back to my office and writing journal papers. Right? I'm actually not employing that technology. I could, right? I could actually employ the technology, but I don't. So these people have a predisposition to use certain ways of doing inside this ecology.
Method of instruction, a method of administration, administrative method, or parenting method, or teaching method, or student, whatever method. Okay.
The parent way of doing, the teacher way of doing.
So you define the technology. Okay.
Yeah. So in the same way, we could even define these organizations as technologies, like aggregates of people. What do they do? And a business is not necessarily the government. So when you aggregate these people, it's like they actually do something that's qualitatively different.
Okay.
So I have these species, and they interact with each other within the species and between the species. And there's cooperation and competition. So let me show you some of my assumptions in this metaphor. Two ecologies, global and school. There are species, biotic, abiotic, internal, external. They interact with each other within the species and between species. And there's competition and cooperation.
Competition and cooperation. why you choose competition and cooperation versus other ecological?
These are the terms in the literature.
Okay. Okay.
I'm open to using other kinds of things. Yeah.
Checking.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Yeah. If you come from this kind of, ecosystem analogy, then when you go through the social side, competition is a big word.
Yes.
Personally, I don't consider competition an ecological way of relating. But yet, since literature suggests us, we use what we have.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm not debating anybody.
Yes.
I think that's
So, I also modified this according to the context of the pedagogical technologists in the schools that I'm studying. This is because, for example, these ecological metaphors that have been applied to education systems generally acknowledge a strong national or district context for the school. But since the schools that I'm studying in Hong Kong are international schools, and they have certain freedoms or certain features that untether them to these ecologies, or in fact Hong Kong doesn't have a national system, doesn't have a district system. I designed this two-tier ecology, for example. I made the government no more than a small player, a species, to affect the school.
Again, by ecology you mean the environment.
The environment. Yeah,
okay.
the environment. Sorry. Yeah.
No. You use the word you use. I'm just clarifying.
You're using other words. Yeah. Sorry. So, I've actually modified this for the Hong Kong context.
Fantastic.
So, in the Hong Kong context, certain species are emphasized and certain species are de-emphasized. For example, there isn't a teachers' union. So the teachers' union organization actually doesn't exist. It actually doesn't exist. So that technology doesn't exist. Right. Another big assumption is this idea of carrying capacity. That is, the pedagogical technologist can only exist within this context. It cannot exist in a different environment, in the same way that a panda bear cannot exist in New York City or in the middle of a volcano.
What it has to do with carrying capacity?
The idea that... good question. The idea that the environment can sustain the pedagogical technologist. And only this kind of environment can sustain the pedagogical technologist. I understand carrying capacity in terms of sustainability. So, if you put the pedagogical technologist in this particular school, in this environment, then the pedagogical technologist can survive.
Carrying capacity is actually the degree of variability, like from the ecological point of view. So, as an ecologist, when you say carrying capacity, it's really the degree of how much of whom and which the system can handle to support, let's say, 3 wolves and 5 bunnies, right? And that's the flow. Then it goes to 1 wolf. Then the flow goes like that and like that. So it's imbalance, and it's normal.
Yes.
So when the carrying capacity is reached to its maximum, the ecosystem collapses.
Yeah.
So, and you define carrying capacity as something else.
I think it's the same thing. The idea that there's balance here.
No. It's not the idea of... Oh, okay.
This school can have a pedagogical technologist. It has the carrying capacity for a pedagogical technologist in the same way.
It has resources.
Yeah.
Okay. Carrying capacity is the school is capable of or can afford to hire and maintain and pay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. See, those are very important, because when you throw the words, I have different picture meaning in my mind. So this clarification to the term, which is perfectly correct term, are helpful.
Okay. So let's say this international school in Hong Kong, this environment has the carrying capacity or the resources, the qualities of these species to sustain this pedagogical technologist. Whereas, if you...
So again, by sustain, it means to keep within.
It can carry a pedagogical technologist.
Okay.
Right? Whereas, if we pick a random school, a mainstream school, like an aided school in Hong Kong, likely it would not have a carrying capacity for a pedagogical technologist.
Again, we're using terminology which is quite old. Like we say carrying capacity in the science of ecology, it means something else. But then we assign it our own meaning, and then we say that's an ecological term, and that's what ecologists call it, and then we do that. And the analogy is quite old. So what I would do, I would personally just clearly define each term what I'm using. Like when I say this word, I mean this, and that, like in clear words. And then I say that word or term, I mean this, and that.
Yes,
it's a definition of terms.
Yes, good.
It will tremendously help, because otherwise it would be this mismatch of meanings. Because for me, it doesn't match. I'm really listening. Okay, keep on going.
Okay, thank you. This is I have a feeling I'm going to do that. I need to define all of these terms here.
Otherwise, you will be getting questions. It's going to be miscommunication.
Yeah.
See, we're talking slowly, and we're taking our time and everything, and still I'm not getting you from the first try. I'm getting you after like questioning.
Yes.
See?
Okay. So.
And you're going to present it to people who do have PhDs too, right? They might not be an ecologist or whatever. They might have their own understanding of what each of these terms mean. And as we know, some people wrote books about it. So you wanna make sure that your terminology, if it doesn't match, it's clearly defined.
Okay.
You have your vocabulary.
Yes. I'm going to define this pedagogical technologist, technology. The ecology, I'll define that. What species are. I'll define this carrying capacity thing as well. Now I'll share with you a few findings after my study, or just during the data collection, and I want to run these things by you. I know I'm going to have to define what pollination is, cross-fertilization, and hunting and gathering are. Alright, these are just the kinds of words I've just been using to describe what's been going on. And what I've noticed, in general, across my cases, is that these pedagogical technologists, one, are in fact pedagogical technologists. They aren't technicians, they aren't teachers, they in fact do primarily support the pedagogical aspect of teaching through IT. Now, I've noticed things about their roles and what they do. I'm noticing their interactions with these species. And I notice, one, that they are very mobile. And again, this is because they aren't timetabled. So, during a day, they can physically go to different places, not only within the school, but outside the school. As opposed to like a teacher who has to be at 12:15 here and 1:30 here. Yes, they aren't tethered. They aren't tied down by a timetable. Now, they are mobile, and I see that they are exercising their mobility. They actually go to different localities within the school and within the global environment. They go to physical places, and then they also go to, for example, different year groups and different teachers and different species, principals, parents, students. Okay, so what I see them doing at these multiple localities, because of their mobility, is to a degree transferring knowledge, horizontal and vertical transfers of knowledge. So I was thinking about ecology, and thinking about this metaphor, and I know I have to define these things, but I was thinking, what can I liken this kind of behavior to? And I was thinking about butterflies and bees, and I was thinking about hunters and gatherers. And I'm going to define this later, but I'm just kind of thinking aloud right now.
You don't have to define this. You just say, like for example, this kind of analogy is simple. A child is growing like a tree. You don't have to define the tree and how it grows to do the child thing. Same here. If you find this more illustrative to your case, right? You don't really have to go in depth. You just say this and such happens or benefits this and this. Just like in nature, butterflies and flowers benefit each other, or something like that.
Okay.
It's more of the illustrative. You're not doing deep, in-depth research to this terminology. You just use it to illustrate your point.
Okay.
Really.
Yes.
Right?
In a way that people can understand.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it would be more comprehensive, I guess.
Yes. Okay. So, introducing this term first, pollination, like a bee. If we use this term, we can liken a pedagogical technologist to a bee that can fly. And what it does is it flies from flower to flower or locality to locality. And what it does is it shares a vision. It could be the school's vision, or it could be a dialectic where the pedagogical technologist is trying to foster a shared vision, which entails his or her technological, pedagogical beliefs, values, and assumptions. So they use every platform or flower or locality to spread their message, all right, their beliefs, values, and assumptions. And then I was thinking about cross-fertilization. These pedagogical technologists go to many different localities and interact with many different species, like a community, the government, a business, another school, with teachers in one year group or teachers in another year group, or with the parents or students in one year group or whatever. And what they're doing is they're giving and receiving professional development. They give and they receive this kind of professional development. And what happens is they go from one location to another, and they take what they've learned here and they use it here to give and to receive professional development. So in fact, we're transferring from one locality to another technological, pedagogical knowledge, and which is separate from the beliefs, values, and assumptions. Finally, and this was the first kind of foray into this kind of ecological thing, trying to come up with some metaphor. Like, what is this? I noticed that these people are, in fact, building community. They gather people together. In fact, not only do they go to these different localities, but they're connecting these localities. Not only through the technological, pedagogical knowledge, but actually just building relationships between people. Or at the organization, people within the school and the global environments. And I was like, what is this? What kind of behavior is this? These are actually community builders, in other words. And it's like, what can we liken this behavior to? And I felt like it's like being very mobile and going to where the resources are, and perhaps bringing them back to a temporary locality, but ultimately moving on. Because these people also ultimately move on from their schools. They are not lifers in their schools. They themselves are, in fact, untethered in their careers. So I was like, okay, well, maybe we can liken this kind of behavior to hunting and gathering. A mobile people who do things in the short term and do things in the long term. Right? Yeah. So those are just three of the things that I've found, and I've tried to again use ecological terms to explain these things. And I guess that's about it.
This is great. I think it's great. When you're going to present it?
I'm presenting next week at a conference, and then I'm doing my confirmation seminar in 2 weeks.
Okay. But what I would like to do, we have this ecological model group, and I think which is led by Nancy, and she would love to see all this because her interest directly related to metaphors, and she wrote a book on technology, and she used lots of metaphors.
Yeah, she did.
Well, from the different perspectives,
Yes.
but she would, not just her, but the group of students and staff who are doing technology and pedagogical and everything, and were involved and are involved in ecological modeling, would be happy to build discussion around this, because that's a very good summary it represents the ideas and directions of the group.
Okay.
So, I don't know if whether Nancy is very busy, whether she will be available to come, but if we ask her, really ask her, she really make time, and give her comments, because she really can do the comment stuff, and then she can organize everybody around to contribute it in some way, but she would be a major contribution.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to join. Yes.
Yeah, and it would be easier to invite people to your seminar than you to the group meeting. That's the way. If let's say she's not in town and she's not available, then when she's available, we would love to have you.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, we would go. I would invite everybody to the conference. It would be easier, honestly.
Yeah.
Just tell me which conference, where, and what time, and.
The conference next week. You can't attend now. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
And it's really expensive.
It's okay.
But my confirmation seminars.
Maybe if you tell me a date and time of the confirmation seminar.
10:30 at 403 run. The 24th. Let me check.
24th of February.
Yeah. Let me check.
Run
the calendar.
Shama.
Hello. Where's my confirmation seminar? 403 Run Me Shaw, 10:30 on the 24th.
If you have an announcement, so it will probably come out this week or something. Yes. Then I can forward it. I can do the arrangement with Nancy about that. Then you'll get a more comprehensive feedback. Not comprehensive. You'll get the feedback from a senior member of the community who writes about that. I can just suggest you what I think about it. But I think it's great.
Can I share one more thing with you? Because I forgot about one thing.
Yeah.
The symbiotic relationships.
Go ahead.
What I've noticed about symbiotic and I liken this. Let me explain actually what I'm seeing, and then why I label it symbiotic. Where is it? Hello. Where is my research proposal? Now, as I mentioned before, I noticed knowledge transfer. Technological, pedagogical knowledge transfer. Within the school, it tends to be vertical. That is, the pedagogical technologist is trying to bridge the gap between what he knows and what other people in the school know. And I see horizontal transfer in the pedagogical technologist's community. He actually belongs to external communities, and these people tend to have similar degrees of technological pedagogical knowledge. So I see horizontal transfers here. These are the people with whom they can kind of bounce ideas off of. And what I noticed in this kind of model, if there are different degrees of technological pedagogical knowledge within the school, and these are all people in the school, the pedagogical technologist who has a great degree of TPAC, in 4 of my 5 cases, works very closely with one other person. And this person serves many different functions, ultimately to augment this person's reach within the school and outside the school. For example, if this person is this person's like counterpart or assistant, more people can reach this person, the pedagogical technologist, through the assistant or the counterpart. In the same way, the pedagogical technologist, before interacting with these people who know less about, who have less technological pedagogical knowledge, can bounce ideas off of this person who has a similar but lesser degree of technological pedagogical knowledge before approaching these people.
But I would suggest symbiotic, again, a word symbiotic, implies you cannot without.
Yes.
Okay, you cannot without. Let's say liking, it's a symbiotic relationship between moss and algae. That's symbiotic. What you're talking about is more of the mutualism. It's mutual. Really, there is for 4 kinds of ecological relationships, and symbiotic is one of them. Competition or predator prey another one. Then and mutualism is one of them. It means that you can build a stronger argument instead of like bounce ideas and all that. You might go with constructionism and all that and say that they mutually learn from each other a construct knowledge, not just transfer from me to you and from you to you. To me, they construct something new out of it, so it's mutually beneficial for
everyone.
Again, they perfectly can do without each other.
In 3 of my 5 cases, I think it would be mutualism then. But in one case, without the pedagogical technologist, the assistant wouldn't exist. I think that's symbiotic. They actually need each other.
It's symbiotic when you define. It depends what you do. If you relate to the roles and positions, right? Then, let's say we both doing science. You serve science. I serve science. Somebody else serves science in different ways from different roles and different positions. You can do without me, I can do without you, hypothetically, or you can do without your advisor or whatever, but we cannot do without science. There is no science, there is no you, no me, anybody else. See what I mean? That's more of a, like when you put the component there, which is greater than anybody else. So we don't have to focus on each other relationships because we do our own service to a greater deal. That would be systemic. We are in the systemic relationship. So these people are in the systemic relationship in terms of serving greater goal of raising kids, children, education, whatever
raising
goal.
TPAC,
whatever you defined of this, noble goal, right? So they do it from their own positions in the system. They might or might not be related, or they're related to each other. But again, without this greater goal, there wouldn't be anything else. Even then, I wouldn't call it symbiotic. I wouldn't be that like narrow. I would be, again, my general suggestion is kind of to make it less narrow and more abstract. So you leave yourself some room to, define your relationship. You can even define your own way of people relating. Let's say, well, Bill according to ecology, there are this, and that way of relating, or species relating to each other within the system. But we think that the way how people relate within social systems, school systems, within school ecology, is totally unique. And we call it, and then you create a name for that.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
You don't have to like try to fit what is in the social system to the ecosystem terminology. School is not an ecosystem.
Yeah.
It's never gonna match.
Yeah.
It's always gonna be. You're always gonna pull something to it. It's never gonna match. It's always gonna be open for critique.
Okay.
However, it gives you enough
Mutualism.
space to, you just Google ecological relationships, like, ecology, third grade basically. Like, you won't miss it. I mean, it's not an earth science. It's really third grade ecology.
Okay.
So, and then you can say, we know in science, in ecological science, in ecological system, we know just 4 ways of species related to each other. But when we look in the social system, we define, and then you go with these unique features of this ecological, pedagogical technology. They're unique, right? So, and their unique way of relating to each other might be a combination of all 4, or something.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more. It will make it a little bit more exciting.
Okay.
Like your little creativity jumps in.
Yes, I'm getting hung up on certain things. Like this
It's
idea of having
normal.
counterparts.
I mean, you're just starting up. It's a great start. It's amazing. Look at you.
Counterparts and augmentation.
It's fantastic. What you're doing you're doing a great job. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
I'm very impressed. I have to go now.
Okay.
Is it okay? Okay, so thank you. Anytime. Yes, I'll give you my feedback if you would like to.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Cool.
Keep up.
I'll let you know about my confirmation seminar.
Yeah,
We can have a party.
I'll sure ask.
Breakfast party.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll try to bring the support group and those who will be really, really interested in this. Like, I'm absolutely sure. Sure. Nancy will be delighted. Bob will be delighted. And because it build up, it develops the ideas that they have. All right.
Thank you, Tamara.
All right, my friends.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thanks for a chocolate, by the way. That's good.
You're welcome.